Good afternoon. It's Wednesday. It's 4 o'clock, which means it's time for Made in MIQTV. It's actually a few minutes after 4 because we've had one or two technical difficulties, which I'm hoping I have now overcome. And I'm going to invite my guest this afternoon, hopefully, who is going to be Harrison Byrne. Now, Harrison, here he is, in fact.
Hello.
Perfect timing.
How are we doing?
His name when he appears on the screen. Hi there.
How are you?
I'm just doing an introduction. Sorry about the technical snafu at the beginning, but we're there now. So, as I was just about to explain, Harrison left Quegs in 2018, and I'm going to get him to tell us all about what he's been up to in the intervening years. After he left us after completing A-levels in business, DT, and English language, I think is correct. He'll correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yep.
And he went off to Liverpool John Moores to study business management. And I'm going to let you take up the story from there, Harrison. Tell us what you've been up to and why you're sitting in front of a sign that says On Track Coffee. Tell us the story.
Yeah, so I graduated from Quegs in 2018, and then I moved on to the lovely city of Liverpool. I was there for 3 years. Loved every minute of it. University was great. It was a great course, and it was also a great way to make friends and kind of, it's not just a experience in terms of getting a degree and furthering it into your life. It's also the whole social side of things, which is great about university, friends for life and sort of experiencing a different city away from Wakefield and doing all that kind of stuff. So that really helped me sort of grow as a person and become more social, because obviously working somewhere like this, I need to be, chatty, and I'm not sure I'm having a conversation with someone. I'm always talking. So that helped me out massively. I was there for 3 years. Affected by the pandemic a little bit, which was tough because obviously, you look forward to going to university. And that happens, and it's kind of a breakup, and it affected not just social, sport and everything. Rugby was cancelled, and it was a shame really, but we cracked on. Obviously everyone struggled through lockdown, and then we bounced back. Still managed to obviously finish my degree with a 2-1, so I was happy with that. I finished university with the intention of starting a business. It was just, I've got an idea, now I need to execute it. So I kind of took a bit of time out and worked just in hospitality, in coffee, because I couldn't open this without knowing what to do. I always had the passion there. It was just furthering my actual skills to open something up. So I lived in Leeds for a year, worked up in Chapel Allerton and around university in a coffee shop there called Opposite. And they were great. They taught me everything that I know now and more. So they were fantastic. And that, again, just working in hospitality and in that field has just given me my transferable skills to open my own place, really.
Brilliant.
I worked there for a year, and then from February this year, I've just been planning to get everything open, and then we've been here 5 weeks now. So it
was just the start of September, wasn't it? Your end of August, start of September, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a long process. I think one of the things I definitely learned was how hard it is to set up a business.
Right.
There's always something else you need to do, and you think you've got everything and you're ready to go, and then there's something else that someone wants or someone needs. But I've learned a hell of a lot just in the last 4 or 5 months, just from this experience alone. So it's been a massive learning experience for me in terms of the real world, and how many barriers you kind of have to cross to get to where the finished product.
Sure. In a minute, if you don't mind, we'll unpack some of those, because I think that's a really interesting part of the journey. And I'm sure we'll have lots of people watching today who are going to come to watch. There are students in the school who one day may well want to open their own business, or they know people who do it, or their families have businesses. And I think there's probably a lot of things that people do know, but there's probably loads of things, as you've just said, that people don't know, and you have to learn the hard way or by doing it. At what point, so can I just ask you, as it occurred to me as you were talking there, Are you a barista? What is a barista? Do you have to qualify? How does it work?
So there is qualifications you can get to say you are a qualified barista as such. With a lot of it, it's very much, the more you do it, the better you get. So, obviously you're doing the same thing every day. You're making coffee every day. So the more you do something, the better you're going to get. So you can do what's called an SCA approved course, which is it's a paid course. You go on, you do exams and all sorts, and there's levels to it, almost like doing your music levels and things like that. So there is a course you can do. I didn't go down that route just because when I worked in the other shop that I used to work at, I was just thrown in at the deep end basically and just said, right, you kind of know, what you're doing, so let's just crack on and get on with it. And I think that's a good way to learn, really. As well as it is doing something regimented and structured, I think at the same time, it's just great to just, get straight in there and just get on with it, really.
And do the job and live it. Yeah, absolutely. And you, at what point, looking back, have you always known you wanted to own your own business, or was there a particular period of your life or a particular moment you thought, I could do that? What's the sort of moment that you thought that's the direction you're headed?
Yeah, there wasn't really such a light bulb moment where I thought this is exactly what I want to do. I think it was just over time. Obviously with doing business management, it was always something that I thought of, and then coffee came hand in hand because once I moved to university and I had deadlines and things like that, and early starts, coffee
drank a lot of coffee.
Yeah, coffee just became the norm then. And then with specialty coffee, it's such a great thing because there's so many different places that do different things, and it's like anything specialty. If you're a wine drinker or something like that, once you have a good one, it's hard to go back to a bad one. So you start thinking, I'll try this one and that one. And then I just really got a passion for it. And then I thought, if I can do something, I'd go to a lot of places and I think that was really good, but it was missing something from that shop, and then I just thought, I just want to bring everything together into one shop, and I originally had plans, when I did my business plan at university, I had plans to do a sort of coffee shop and a workspace for students. Originally, that's what I did my business plan on. And then even when I first planned to open this place, I was going to have a flower display outside and sell flowers. So I thought it'd be quite a nice thing. But then over time, you sort of think the logistics of things, and I thought I'm already having to get up at 5 o'clock. I don't want to get up at 3 o'clock to go to a flowers wholesale and buy flowers every morning. So it was, it's just slightly adapting things and changing things, and I feel like I've got a good plan.
Yeah, and one thing at a time, I suppose. So you said February was when it really started to come together, the planning, and so talk us through, if you would, in a bit more detail, because obviously you've got, as a non-expert, but I can already imagine there's quite a lot of variables. You've got premises, you've got funding, you've got supply, you've got decisions to make about quality control. Go on, talk us through some of the hurdles you've had to overcome since February to opening day on start of September.
Yeah, so it all came about. I was dropping my dad off at the station, actually, and the to let sign was in the window, and we'd sort of been having a little bit of a look. We had a look down at the Hepworth. There's a new unit being built there. Had a look at there, sent a few emails, kind of got nothing back. Soon realised it was more of a collaborative project from the people. They already had their own coffee shop in there, etc. So right there, that sort of didn't go through. Had a look somewhere else. It was just a bit too big, because with it being my first business, I didn't want to try and kind of run before I could walk and open up this huge place and have to do more stuff. So yeah, we saw the to let sign, kind of joked and laughed to each other and said, that could be an option. But at first we thought it was too small.
Yes.
So we were like, it'll probably be a bit small. And then, we rang them up. We rang up the letting agency, said, can we have a look? The lady took us round, because it used to be a wine shop before.
I remember. Yeah.
So we had a walk around, and, it was bigger than what we thought, really. It's a little bit deceiving from the outside. So we had a look, kind of saw everything and thought this could be quite good. And then went on holiday and kind of dwelled on it a little bit and thought, should we, shouldn't we? I'm not sure. And then we kind of did the logistics, the money side of things, and thought, well, we might as well, just put an offer in, see what happens. We waited a month and a half, kind of got intermittent emails back saying, we'll get back to you at the end of the month once the process is over. I personally thought they were just kind of stalling us really until the lease ran out. But
oh, really?
They said they had lots of interest and things, and they might have done, but I think they were kind of just waiting for the lease to finish so they could finally send us the offer. And then, we got the offer through, had a look, and then there was about a month back and forth with logistics in terms of contracts and making sure everything was right. Both parties were kind of getting a deal from it, do you know what I mean? Because with it being, the first time something like this we were doing, it was also, and the climate we're in, we wanted to make sure we were like sort of covered for a lot of things. And with COVID, what happens if there's another pandemic, stuff like that, because it'd kill our trade really. So covered all the bases, made sure everything was exactly how we wanted it. Signed the lease, and then we had a lot of kind of back and forth with planning and what you're going to put in there, what's it going to be. We need schematic drawings of everything. Basically, it's done through LNER, so it's a massive company. They want every ground covered, basically. So I think that was me being a little bit naive, thinking I'd get the premises and just be able to start working on it straight away. So I originally planned to open at the start of June, and looking back, there was no way. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, not even from a planning side of this. It was the whole, like you say, suppliers. We had to speak to suppliers, everything like that. So June was a little bit unrealistic and wishful thinking, really. And then, things progressed. We sort of got plans approved, and then in the meantime, like we say, we spoke to suppliers. Obviously, we had to sort out funding, which was another thing. Being 21 years of age at the time, and not having a lot of credit score, and not having a lot of, ways of sourcing X amount of money to get it all going, and it was becoming a little bit more and more every time we kind of added stuff on, and it was tough. I think kind of what we'll go on to later about that sort of thing. I think we can talk about sort of that side of stuff. But I think that was the toughest part, really. And then everything else kind of just fell hand in hand. We used Darkwoods, they're up in Slough in Huddersfield, so not too far away. And they're a really great company. They sourced everything from machinery to beans to everything for us.
Okay.
They even helped us design the bar. They're very logical thinking. They're a B corporation, which means they're very sustainable and they're customer first. So they were absolutely fantastic. They helped us with all that part of things, and it just made our life a lot easier.
So you're able to draw on expertise, which is important, because you're learning in the trade at the moment. So
and I think
people help you can get sort of thing.
They understood that as well, I think, which was nice. They weren't pressing or saying you need to get the best of this and the best of that. They were realistic on what we had and the space we have, because we're not massive, and in the future it might become more and bigger. But for the time being, they were saying, look, you only need this, you only need that. Get X and Y, Z, and you'll be absolutely fine. So that was just the best thing, really. They were a bit of a blessing in disguise, because they kind of took us under the wing a little bit and said, look, we'll help you with this, we'll help you with that. And they're just super supportive. And having someone local is great, because if anything goes wrong, touch wood, they're only around the corner, so they can come and help us out with stuff.
Help support you.
And I think that's a problem. A good thing about being a small and local independent business is, people have got your back, which is important especially at the moment, but just in general, is people actually wanting to care for you and make sure, their interests are your interests and vice versa. So it's kind of, they were really helpful in that side of things. They covered a lot of bases for us rather than having to go to several different people. And
I think you said earlier, there's a lot of things that you don't know what you don't know. I suppose you don't know until it comes up as an issue, and you've got to have decisions about everything. And I suppose the upside is you're in charge, but the downside is, oh, you're in charge, so everything comes through you. You've got to make every decision, and that's double edged, isn't it? I mean, even to things like, you know, your design of your logo, which I think is brilliant. And, you know, how does that work? Do you get help? Do you have some ideas yourself? Do you have to work with an agency? It's time consuming, this type of thing, isn't it?
It is, and I think I was also very lucky in the sense that I've got a lot of good people around me. So my sister's partner, his sister helped me with the whole logo and things. The name was that was a bit of a light bulb moment, because I was in the car driving home. I was thinking on the track, I was thinking all of, you know, different things. Yeah. And then On Track clicked, and then I thought, that's quite a good name. So I sent a text saying, you know, what do you think of this? And he said, so strange. I'm sat with your sister and her partner now, and we just said the exact same thing. So it was so strange. And then she helped me out with all the designer stuff. She sent me quite a few different ones, and then she said, I've just got this new font in. What do you think? And it was that with the lines through. So it's almost a bit spooky. I was like, that's exactly what we want. And we were saying it looks like the train tracks in it. It kind of just fell into place. So I was very lucky I had her, really, because I think if I'd have gone a little bit bigger with a company, it might have taken a bit longer and not as personal and that sort of thing. So yeah, the logo side of things helped great. And then in terms of even putting up the sign and everything, that's just through, you know, contacts and people who, again, want to help me, you know, and wanted to kind of get me on my feet. And it could have been even longer without them. They were sort of ready to go when I was, which was just perfect. There was no pressing of, we need this done by this time, because they understood at the time when I was waiting to get in, it was just a waiting game, really, and just in terms of getting the go-ahead. So I kept having to say, sorry guys, just another couple of weeks, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know how long this is going to take to get approved. And
yeah, I think when you first told me about it, it was the start. It was before the summer, wasn't it? And then you know, of that you know, that resonates as well, because you weren't sure when, but you knew it was gonna. You knew it was coming. I remember you sending me a message. I
think that was the hardest thing at the time as well, because people, you know, were asking, when's it opening? You know, when are you opening? And if you know, I wanted to open, I was desperate, I was itching, but I think the one thing I have learned is just to be a little bit patient in the business world. People just take the time, and you know, things take longer than what you want. You know, you can't have everything straight away. You kind of just got to kind of relax with it all, really. As frustrating as it was at the time, looking back now, it just gave me a little bit more time to get fully sort of prepared for everything, and rather than sitting around and getting angry because it wasn't opening, I kind of took it as a kind of a good thing and thought, right, I can start putting this into place and that into place, and then when I do open, it's a smooth opening and there's no hiccups.
That's brilliant, and it seems you've been able to stay faithful to your idea. You've got complete control, so you decide. You know, you've decided what you want to sell, what sort of niche you want to have.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that, because obviously the other coffee shops are available. So you've got to sort of, I guess, think about what you're trying to achieve, but also what's going to draw customers to you as ahead of someone else. And we talked a little bit about that when I came in. But you know, talk to us about that, because that's you know, there are lots of coffee shops. So
you know. Absolutely. I think you're dead right, and especially, you know, the tough thing here. What we've kind of first noticed at first glance is, with there being a Costa inside, you know, people assume brand loyalty, you know, and people get used to and accustomed to doing the same thing all the time. So it's, you know, I think more, especially since, you know, the pandemic, people have started supporting, you know, local businesses more. I think they've really understood how tough it was. I've always been a supporter of a local business over a big chain, just because, you know, especially now, I know the ins and outs of it and how tough it really is. But I think just in general, you know, it's more of a personal interaction. I think when you come in here, you kind of, and speaking to customers, you know, they like a smiley face on a morning, you know, they like having the chat and the personal side of things, you know, and even just from little things such as remembering people's orders and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of it's a little touch, but it's quite makes you want to go back. You know, because you feel kind of valued, and I think, with no disrespect to any of the bigger chains, I think it's just another person through the door. You know, and speaking to people who've worked at places like that, that it's all about just sales and getting people in and out the door. Whereas, I'd rather have retaining customers who want to come back and sort of see me and I see them, and we have a chat and we have a catch up. Even if it's just once a week, once a month. At least I know when they're passing through the station, they're going to come through and even just pop the head in and say hello. Really, it's that more personal feel, I'd say, with a specialty coffee shop. And I think the word specialty sort of scares people sometimes, because it's like really fancy experience, but it's not. It's just good tasting coffee, and just it's the thing that annoys me the most is people think it's really expensive, and really it's going to be expensive in there, but it's cheaper than the big brands, and the big chains. So it's cheap. If I could, I'd put on the A board outside, cheaper and better. And I don't. I think more and more people, are passing and think, I'll give it a try today, and then once they've come in, they come back. So it's.
Well, that's really good. I mean, you mentioned that earlier. You said people get into a habit, and I guess with where you are, do you have? And again, I'm speculating a little bit, but put me right if I'm wrong. But you'll have presumably some people who come through every day, some people who come through certain days, some people who come through once in a while. I mean, you said that, so that's part of the skill, I guess, is recognizing the patterns, remembering who people are. Is that what you're finding now? Because you've been in, what did you say, 5 weeks? What's sort of the early lessons along those lines that you've learned?
I think people, you have your regular commuters, so people that travel to work every day, who are, it's hard, isn't it? Because, buying a coffee every day, it adds up, but for a lot of people, and like myself, it's kind of their little thing for the day, that's their reward or their thing to look forward to. It's always been my thing, I mean, now I've got it on draft. I'll be sick of it eventually, but it's kind of, when I used to be at university, or I used to work just in hospitality, I'd like going and spending £3 a day on a coffee, because it's the experience, and it's that personal feel. I've definitely noticed a trend of certain days of the week where it's busier. So a lot of people travel Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday now. Long weekend at home, Monday to Friday. So we tend to find Monday's a little bit quiet because people are working from home, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is busy for people commuting, and then Friday is more of your leisure travel, and same with Saturday. So it's just adapting and preparing differently for different days, because I'm not going to lie, at the moment we're very reliant on commuting trade. Where we are, it's bound to, and then over time, we'll get more regular, frequent customers who are traveling to come and see us on the weekend, or on on an afternoon or whatever. So it's kind of just getting obviously the commuters will always come. It's just building up the brand loyalty and kind of getting people in on the weekends. When people have got a spare out, like half an hour, they'll just nip to the shop, because it's so easily accessible here to come in and out. You can we joke about it. We have people that kind of pick up and go, pull up, jump out the car, grab a coffee.
Really?
We're joking, saying we'll eventually buy the taxi rank and have it as a
Well, I mean, I called in. I went to London for the old boy dinner actually the other week, and called it. Oh, sorry, we got a delay. I called in and got a lovely cup of coffee, and I think it's absolutely brilliant what you're doing. I'm glad it's going well. And I would urge everyone, free advert for Harrison here. I would urge everyone watching and listening, next time you're through the station, or even next time you're through Wakefield, go and give him a visit, go and say hello, and let's support a local business and one of our own. I'd urge everyone to do that. It's time is flying, actually. I'm really, really loving talking to you. Let's look back a little bit and some memories from school, because that's always fun to do. But also, I think maybe you'll disagree, but I think school when your time in school partly starts to form who you're eventually going to become. When you look back to school, were there any particular strong memories you've got? Any formative things? You know, you did study business, for example, which presumably was a factor in the way you've gone. What sort of things jump out when you think back to your time in school? Have you got any strong or poignant memories?
Yeah, I think firstly from a memorable point of view, just from, you know, my enjoyment, I think, you know, the sports side of things was a big thing for me. You know, we had a great year at school for rugby, so we always had good success, and you know, I made a lot of friends through my sport, friends I still speak to today, and you know, it was a massive part of my life. So I think, you know, when we reached Twickenham at the final, it was great. There's not quite an experience like it, really. You know, when you're watching the rugby on the telly, and you can say you've been in the changing rooms there, and you know, you've been on the pitch and stuff. It's kind of it's quite surreal, really. I'm kind of very grateful, and I think the one thing I'd say, if anyone gets there, you know, who's at school now, is just really enjoy the moment, because you blink and you miss it, and you kind of
over before you know it.
You forget about things. And I think if we could all go back, you know, chatting about it now, we'd kind of just enjoy the moment more than the you know, occasion. We'd just enjoy being there, and I think we sort of did. You know, we had a laugh afterwards. The changing rooms are unbelievable at Twickenham, as you can imagine. There's great big baths in there, so we were all messing about, you know, like we just lost, but it was kind of, you know, you kind of have to just put that to one side and just think, at least I can say I've played here, you know. And it was,
absolutely,
as much as we'd have loved to have won it, it was kind of the whole, you're blown away, really. The occasion and everything, you know, it's just unbelievable. It
was brilliant. It was brilliant in the spring. It was brilliant in the spring to you and the guys. You all came down to Twickenham to support this year's team, and it was lovely to see you all, you know, taking the time out and coming to support the school. And the support that day was brilliant. It was a brilliant day for the school. Even though we weren't successful, it was a big day out for the school. And as you say, it's the experience as much as anything. You come and give your best account, and I know that's meant a lot to the current students who, you know, they're in year 11 now. Have you got any advice? So, looking back to, you know, looking forward from now for students in the school, you know, anybody watching this who's thinking, do you know what, I could do that. I fancy running my own business someday, whether a coffee shop or some other enterprise. What particular advice, I suppose, if you knew then what you know now, what sort of things might you advise to be thinking about for current students at school?
Yeah, I just think, you know, it sounds a bit cliche, but just you do you, you know, don't let other people influence your decision. There's always going to be people that sort of question you and doubt you, and raise concerns to you, and make, you know, a lot of the time you just kind of have to treat it as white noise, you know, and do what you want to do and do it well, simple but well. You know, it's kind of the going saying, but just do what you want to do and kind of go with what you want to go with. It's always good to have advice from outside people, you know. I've had advice from everyone, you know, people that have got their own businesses, and I've taken the advice, great, but, you know, don't let people get you down with stuff, you know. I think everyone's always going to have an opinion, so you kind of have to stick to your guns and kind of just say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and if it doesn't pay off, you know, it's another experience learned. You know, there's been times where I've, you know, struggled with stuff in terms of, like, you know, getting my head around things and stressing about things and people saying things and me doubting what I was going to originally do. But it's just keep kind of with your ideas, and then just grab bits and bobs off of the people, you know. As long as it's positive advice, you know, it's great. But there's that. And then I also just think, you know, just go for it.
What have you got to lose, sort of thing?
Yeah. I think especially whilst you're young, if you can, you know, I think nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know, if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You know, there's always another, you know, thing on the horizon. I think you've just got to kind of give it your all and give it your best, and just see what happens. Really, I mean, that's what I've done, and it fingers crossed, you know, and touch wood, it's paid off so far. So I think it's just a case of, you know, just go for it and see what happens. You know, there's no point regretting it in the future. You know, you might as well do it whilst you can. And
yeah, that's really interesting. There's lots of reasons not to do things
yeah.
if you look for them, and others sometimes, you know, will be given advice with your best thinking of the best outlook for you, and worried about what happens if it fails. But you know, we could all dwell a long time on what's not going to work. But you know, absolute credit to you, Harrison, for, you know, as you say, you are young, but so what? There's no age limit on who can be a businessman, who can be a business owner.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely fantastic you've got it together and it's up and running. I guess you've had to hire staff. What sort of things have you had to look for? I mean, you're a business owner and an employer now, so you know how did that go? Because that's a big part of owning your own business. Do you have people working for you? I think you do.
Yeah, I have. I've got it's quite a small team at the moment, so there's 4 members of staff. Got another lady called Kez who works with me. She's full time. She's great. And you know, I think especially in specialty coffee, you've got to sort of get someone who's interested in coffee. You know, that's someone who's just approachable and, you know, chatty and wanting to sort of engage with customers. It's an important thing. You know, we open at 6, so they're probably going to be the first interaction they have of the day. So it's kind of important to be, you know, happy and smiley, and you know, you don't need to give a lot of that time in the morning because people are just in, you know, half asleep, and they just kind of, even if it's just to have a good day, you know, it's kind of them little things just go a long way. So yeah, it was a fairly easy process really. I had quite a lot of interest, which was great. And I luckily just stumbled across Kez as my full-time member of staff. She just moved to Wakefield, so she was looking for a job, and she's just been fantastic. So I've kind of got a lot of credit to her and the rest of my staff, because it's kind of, you know, it's a lot taken on at first. So it's nice to have taken off a little bit and have trust in them to do things whilst I'm away. And I know when I have my days off, I'm in safe hands, and it's still great, and people are still coming in and raving about the coffee and the people. So yeah, I think that's
really important. And when you what was I going to say? If you could go back in time and whisper in young Harrison's ear, if you give him one piece of advice from your experiences today that perhaps might be useful for him to know, or maybe something you wish you'd heard in an assembly, or you know, something at school, what sort of things might feature in that conversation?
I think life skills. I think it's important as a young person, you know, growing up. I think you need to understand more these, you know, the problems you're going to face and the future tools you need in life. You know, I was joking with my dad actually about it, sort of saying stuff like, you know, tax codes and things like that, and you know, filing reports and having a credit card and stuff like that. I think, you know, you're kind of a bit naive to it as a young individual, because you think, oh, it's a future. But I think it soon comes around. You know, you soon finish either your education or your higher education at university, and then that's it. Then, you know, you're an adult, so you sort of straight in. And I think that's one thing I would have said to myself was, you know, be more, you know, learn a few more life skills in terms of that, because it kind of just sets you up. And you know, I didn't have a clue at first. You know, I learned how, when I was opening a business, and I still didn't really know about that sort of stuff. So
payroll and tax codes and national insurance and
the account exactly to me, and I was kind of saying, you know, looking back with a blank face, like, I don't know what he's talking about. But it is important, and I think the earlier you can understand it and get your head around it, the better. I think that's the one thing I'd say, really.
And have you got any messages for any former teachers or anybody that you've got fond memories of back at school? Because you know, they're always happy to hear from old boys. What?
I don't really have you know, everyone at school was great. You know, especially, you know, shout out to all the, you know, the PE staff and all the sports staff. You know, they were absolutely great. I think the best thing about Quegs was the support available. You know, I think if you ever, you know, it's quite a personal a personal school in that regards, where if you ever had any issues or queries or anything, you know, you could go to people, and it didn't matter really what you did as hobbies, if it was sport, if it was music, if it was your educational side of things, there was always someone there who you could have, you know, a chat with about stuff. You know, I could either go speak to the sports staff, I could go speak to you, I could, you know, even as high as the head teacher, you know, they were always chatting to kind of put an arm around you. So I think just a credit to them, really. I mean, I absolutely love my time at school, and I think another thing I would say is just like enjoy it whilst you can, because I realise, you know, what I do to be going into school every day with my mates, and you know, and having fun with them every day, because you soon miss it, and then you soon go from seeing each other every day to once a week to once a month to a catch up every year. So it's kind of just enjoy it whilst you can, and you'll, you know, we always used to joke about being like, oh God, I can't wait to go to university, you know, I can't wait to get out of school, and then you're like, and then grow up, and then you grow up, and then you're like, I wish I was back in school now. Can't wait. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it whilst you can.
Oh, that's brilliant advice. The time has absolutely flown, as it always does. I've absolutely loved talking to you. This is a business that is just getting started. We wish you all the success in the world. Again, I urge everybody listening and watching to support one of our own in his endeavours outside Wakefield Station, just on the way into the concourse there. This is very much a business that is made in Queggs. I think we can claim some ownership there as well, and we support you, and we wish you all the very best. Please do keep in touch. Let us know how it's going. I'm through the station at the weekend, so I'll definitely be calling in to get myself an early morning coffee and a snack. So look forward to that. But yeah, well, next time you've got a day off and you want to come in and say hello in school, you're always welcome. It'd be great to catch up. I actually think there might be scope, if you're up for it, for coming talking to groups of students, and maybe we talked about that before. You know, giving, you know, answering some questions, thinking about things, because I think the journey you have been on and are on, I think is really, really interesting, insightful, exciting, and as I say, we wish you every success, and please do keep in touch. So thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
All the best. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.